All right, guys, I've made it to the Tilta booth here at NAB 2023. This is Rob with Animus Visual. I am here with Nick at Tilta, and today we want to discuss, obviously, the new thing in the room, which is the Nano 2. So Nick's going to tell us a little bit more about what we have going on.
Yeah, so this is the Nucleus Nano 2. There's honestly quite a lot to go over with this, but I'll kind of hit the main points and then dive into a few fun details after. But the biggest difference that you'll notice just from looking right away is the major facelift of this unit. We now have a pretty large touchscreen that is going to really expand your options for control, communication, ease of use. The kind of big changes with this unit is we are now changing the system from a single motor system to a 3-motor system. So the hand wheel itself, if I can disconnect this, now is able, it's a similar size, but you're now able to control 2 motors, one with the focus wheel right here, and you have a UI to reflect your adjustments, and then you have a zoom rocker on the side, which is dampened, meaning you can kind of ease in and out of your zoom movements. And then we have a range of expandable controllers. This is the first one that we're kind of showcasing, which is the Ronin controller. It's going to be compatible with DJI RS2 and RS3 Pro, as well as it's going to introduce an additional finger wheel. That means when you connect the two of them, you're able to control focus, actually let me put it like that, focus, zoom, iris, and a gimbal all through the same unit. Looking at the screen, the next kind of major feature would be our camera control option. So we're going to have a few different ways for connecting this to different cameras. We're going to be starting with compatibility for Canon, Blackmagic, and Sony, but the idea is you can connect this to your camera via USB-C, Wi-Fi, or Bluetooth, and then you're able to wirelessly adjust settings, meaning if your camera's up on a crane, if it's on a gimbal, if it's anywhere that's difficult to reach, you have a kind of all-in-one spot for controlling not just your lens information, but your camera information. And the kind of last major talking point I'll go in this overview is a very requested feature for the Nucleus M, actually, and they're able to bring this into the Nano 2, which is lens data saving. So you're going to be able to calibrate a range of lenses, save that information into the unit, and then be ready to go as soon as you kind of power on the system. Going to save a lot of time on set, and it's just really going to make the system, I think, a lot easier and more effective to use.
That is pretty major. How many lenses can you save on there?
That's a good question. I believe it's going to be in the 5 to 10 range. I don't think there's an exact number. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be unlimited, but it definitely will be enough to cover most sets. And yeah, there should be more information coming soon. All the like exact technical specs on the Nano 2 are going to probably be announcing closer towards the end of spring, while these are hoping to start shipping and taking orders early summer, possibly June, maybe middle summer, around July.
So we'll probably be seeing these in people's hands Q4.
I would imagine. I imagine the first people will be receiving these at the end of 3, but it's, the exact details will be, announced very soon.
Also, I found this very interesting up here. What does this button do?
So this is actually one of my favorite features, but this is very similar to some of our other handles for the ring grip. This will allow you to switch between Tilta Focus and DJI Focus, and the major difference with that is that when you're using the Tilta setting, you do have hard stops on the wheel itself, but when you're connecting these to the DJI motors, they do not have any hard stops, so this will allow the system to spin indefinitely, and that will allow you to adjust the sensitivity of the dial, which is something the Nano and the M was not capable of. Now you're able to really fine-tune the speed that you want this thing to move without needing to set A and B points and limiting your range.
That is specific to the DJI setting mode, or on the other one as well, the Tilta follow focus mode?
On both. So it's necessary for DJI, but it's also because of that technology, we're able to take advantage of that and add a sensitivity setting, which before was not possible.
That is incredible. I'm really liking this thing right now. So the other question is, we talk about latency. Did you mention it's pretty much the same guts as the previous version of Nano?
Yeah, so latency is going to be very similar to the original Nano. They all use the same wireless communication, meaning that this is compatible with the original Nano, Nucleus M, even the Mirage motor. We're essentially making a system that doesn't, we're not necessarily expecting it to replace people's previous systems, but just giving them options to grow and kind of evolve their system so they don't have to, restart with a brand new system. But because of building on that technology, it is going to be similar in terms of latency and response.
All right, so let's get into the $1 million question. Power. From what I understand, it's a 7-hour continuous use. So if you were literally pulling for 7 hours straight, it would last 7 hours. What is the actual, in your opinion, real world usage time?
So that is correct. A big change with this is that power is a little bit different. Internal battery is being used now on the hand wheel itself, and 7 hours is the estimate for consistent use. I would say in a practical setting, that's going to be a bit closer to 12, maybe pushing 15, depending on the exact cases. So in general, the hand unit itself should be more than enough to get you through an average day. However, because of this internal battery, we are able to open this up to a few different options for powering, specifically by being able to add a USB-C port on the bottom. We're going to have some fast charging capabilities, and this is also going to be able to handle higher voltages than the original Nano, meaning if you're connecting this to a monitor, a wireless video system, you're able to run, higher voltage, even potentially DTAP, I believe, from a gold mount battery directly into the unit, which means that although if you were using it just separately, the power might be a concern if you're somewhere where you're not able to recharge it. In the situation that I think most people will be using this in, they'll have plenty of options, as well as these adaptable handles. This handle right here does run off of a standard Sony L series, F550, and that's going to give a couple additional hours to this unit itself. And these are swappable, so you are in a way still able to swap batteries. Essentially, we really needed to make this internal so that we could use that USB-C and have access to that higher voltage, as well as to make it easier for people. I know there were some issues with the previous batteries, so I think the decision to go internal is seems at first a little bit confusing, but I think with the options that you have, I think most people would be happy to see that those options overall are expanded.
Sure. Looks like you also have the option here on the handle to change from Tilta focus to DJI focus. So this relationship with DJI has grown a lot between Tilta and DJI in the recent years, it looks like. So that's actually a welcome addition because now we have more companies collaborating together to give us, the consumers, a lot more product options and things that integrate into each other. So very, very happy with this. Another question I have here. We talked about latency. Somebody asked if we plug in a charger cable, that probably wouldn't make any difference in the latency itself, right? To like the motor.
Yeah, that is correct. So any type of wired connection is not going to affect
it.
latency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on to the motor itself. There's some upgrades from the original Nano motor. Is that correct?
That is correct. So they're a lot smaller. They are a lot stronger. The torque is almost as strong as the Nucleus M, if you can believe it. However, part of that is because you have USB-C, which I believe it's going to have some PD protocol, so it's going to be able to pull a little bit more power quickly. And the design has changed a little bit, which has made them lighter. And you can kind of see, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but the kind of like main internal gear that's moving is now a bit more external, so it's not encased in like additional housing, which kind of helps give it a pretty strong torque. We've actually had to turn down the torque on all the units we're showing right now to their lowest setting. And so I think it's going to be, a really great option for people who have been using the Nano primarily for gimbal work, but really rely on the torque of the M. Now they have, essentially just a smaller M motor that, is, like I said, is compatible with all the other previous controllers.
On the motor itself, is there a height adjustment, length adjustment, like in the original Nano?
There is not. So the motor is very much in the shape of the DJI Focus motor. So it has a sort of swivel, meaning you will still need to use some type of like rod extender, or we offer a lot of single side rod holders that can mount directly to the cage and can kind of help you position the motor where it needs to be. But the motor itself is smaller and does not have the same flexibility as the Nucleus M does, but that's mostly to be as lightweight and streamlined as possible.
Power, you can daisy chain USB-Cs?
Yeah, that is correct. So each motor has two USB-Cs, meaning you are able to connect multiple together. Very similar to the Nucleus M, however, something that we had not seen before on the Nano.
That's pretty major. What would you say about this being a potential system to replace the Nucleus M?
I would say it's pretty close. I think that it is because it's compatible with the other, M components, and I believe a lot of this technology that has been developed for the Nano will eventually be used for a refurbish of the M. I don't know exactly when that would be coming. Right now, this is definitely the priority in pushing out. But I would say if you're someone who uses the M, but you're generally working with smaller camera systems anyways, I would say that this would maybe not necessarily be the ultimate upgrade, but I would say in a lot of ways this is the more streamlined and kind of more a simple system to use for a lot of filmmakers who are looking for the most functionality out of a smaller system. I think it's definitely a good option. I wouldn't be surprised if someone replaced their M with a three motor kit of the Nano 2.
All right, and the last question. What is the price? I've heard there's different things on the price as far as like a kit or this or that. I don't know if it's a la carte for each piece separately. So give us some insight on that.
So it's actually going to be starting at the same price as the original Nano, which means the hand wheel and a single motor for $299 US. The other packages are not exactly determined what the price will be, but you can imagine that a lot of these handles, because it's similar tech to previous handles, this would probably be similar to some of our other side handles, maybe in the $200 range. The motors will probably be similar to the previous motors, maybe in the $150 range. So we're imagining there'll be kits of these with multiple motors with different handles, probably ranging between that $299 maybe up to $700-800 depending on what's included. But there will be a la carte options, meaning if you are just trying to get something specific, that'll be available too. But pricing will be very similar to the Nano. So if you're curious on what a specific element will cost, look at the old Nano prices. It'll give you a pretty good range.
This is pretty exciting news, guys. Pretty much old pricing for new tech, which is looking pretty incredible. Lots of new features on the Nano, so I'm really excited here to show you guys this, and I hope you enjoyed.